I had a patient come in last year, a woman in her late 50s, sharp, active, motivated. She told me she walked every single day, 30 minutes without fail, rain or shine. She was proud of it. And she should have been, because consistency like that is rare. But she also came to me with chronic knee pain, constant fatigue, tension headaches that would not quit, and a nagging ache in her lower back that had been building for 2 years. She had tried new routes, new distances, even new timing. Nothing helped, so I asked her one question. I said, "Show me how you walk." She stood up, and I saw the problem within about 10 seconds. She was doing nearly everything wrong. Not the walking itself, the way she was doing it, and once we fixed that, everything else started to improve. I am Dr. Arthur Vance, and today I want to talk about something that affects almost every person over 50 who thinks they are taking care of their health by walking regularly. Walking is genuinely one of the best things you can do for your body at any age. The research on this is rock solid. But here is what nobody tells you at your annual checkup. Walking the wrong way does not just reduce the benefit. It actively causes damage. It loads your joints incorrectly. It strains your spine. It limits how much oxygen your lungs can take in. It increases your fall risk. And over months and years, it creates exactly the kind of pain and fatigue that most people blame on getting older. Today, I am going to walk you through the 7 most common mistakes I see in my patients over 50, explain exactly what each one does to your body, and tell you precisely how to fix each one. But first, I want to spend a moment on why walking after 50 is so much more important than most people realize. After 50, your body goes through a set of very predictable changes that happen to everyone. The first is muscle loss. The medical term for this is sarcopenia, and it means that after 50, you lose roughly 1 to 2% of your total muscle mass every single year. Over 10 years, that adds up to a loss of 15 to 20% of your total muscle. And muscle is not just about strength. Muscle stabilizes your knees and hips. Muscle regulates your blood sugar. Muscle holds your posture upright and keeps your balance steady when you walk. Lose enough of it, and everything in your body starts to struggle. The second change is joint stiffness. The smooth cushioning tissue inside your joints called cartilage has no direct blood supply. The only way it gets the nutrients it needs to stay healthy is through movement. When you move a joint, fluid inside it gets pushed into the cartilage and feeds it. Without regular movement, cartilage literally dries out and begins to thin and break down. That breakdown is what we call osteoarthritis. It is not completely inevitable, but the wrong habits absolutely speed it up. The third change is a slower metabolism. The number of calories your body burns just to keep itself running at rest drops by roughly 2 to 3% every 10 years after 50. The same lifestyle that kept your weight steady at 30 will cause gradual weight gain at 55, not because you changed anything, but because your body did. The fourth change is that circulation becomes less efficient. Blood vessel walls lose some of their flexibility. Blood flow to the legs and feet decreases. This is why so many people over 50 notice cold feet, nighttime leg cramps, and heavy, tired legs by evening. Here is the good news. Walking addresses all 4 of these changes at the same time. It builds and preserves muscle. It feeds cartilage through movement. It speeds up metabolism. It improves circulation throughout the entire body. Studies consistently show that people who walk regularly have significantly lower rates of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, bone thinning, and memory decline. But all of that only happens when you walk correctly. Walk the wrong way, and you do not just get less benefit. You get a brand new set of problems layered on top of the ones you already had. So let us go through every major mistake, one by one. The first mistake is starting your walk too fast. This is probably the single most common thing I see across every fitness level and every age group. People step out the front door and immediately go full speed. It seems logical. Why slow yourself down when you could just get moving? But your body is not a machine that runs at full capacity the moment you switch it on. It needs a transition period, and skipping that transition has real consequences. When your muscles are cold, the individual muscle fibers are less stretchy and more prone to tiny microscopic tears. These micro tears do not hurt right away, but they accumulate over time and eventually create chronic pain that is very hard to trace back to its source. Your joints are also not ready. The protective fluid inside your joints needs a few minutes of slow, gentle movement to spread evenly across the joint surface and create a proper cushioning layer. Start fast and your cartilage is running without that protection. Your cardiovascular system needs time to adjust as well. The heart does not appreciate sudden, sharp demands, especially after 50 when blood vessels are already less flexible. A sudden spike in heart rate and blood pressure puts unnecessary stress on vessel walls that do not bounce back as easily as they once did. The fix costs you absolutely nothing in terms of time. Simply spend the first 3 to 5 minutes of every walk moving at a deliberately slow pace, almost leisurely. That is your warm-up. It is not optional, and it is not just for athletes. After those few minutes, your joints are cushioned, your muscles are loose, and your heart has found its rhythm. Now you can pick up the pace. The second mistake is poor posture while walking. Go outside and watch people on any sidewalk in America. Most of them are walking with their head pushed forward, shoulders rounded and hunched, eyes aimed at the ground just a few feet ahead. This looks harmless. It is not. An adult human head weighs about 11 pounds. When it sits directly above the spine in its natural position, the neck muscles carry that weight comfortably. But when the head shifts forward by just 1 to 1.5 inches, the load on the neck increases by about 3 times. At 2 inches forward, it multiplies to 4 or 5 times the normal load. That means, instead of carrying 11 pounds, your neck and upper back muscles are holding close to 50 pounds continuously for the entire duration of your walk. The result is chronic muscle tension in the neck, shoulders, and the base of the skull. This is why many people come home from a 30-minute walk with a stiff neck and a headache. It is not age, it is not the weather, it is posture. There is a second consequence that hits your lungs. When your chest is compressed and your shoulders are curled forward, your diaphragm, the large dome-shaped breathing muscle below your lungs, cannot drop fully downward the way it needs to. Your lungs cannot expand to their full capacity. You breathe shallow, using only the upper portion of your chest. Your muscles and brain receive less oxygen than they need. You finish a 30-minute walk feeling like you did an hour of hard work. And there is a third effect. Poor head and shoulder position throws off the alignment of your entire spine. The lower back arches to compensate. The pelvis tilts. The knees end up carrying load at the wrong angle, all from one fixable mechanical error at the top. The correction is simple. Imagine a gentle upward pull from the top of your head, as if something is softly lifting you taller. Shoulders relaxed and slightly back, not forced, just in their natural position. Eyes looking forward toward the horizon rather than down at the pavement. Chin level with the ground, chest open. In this position, your lungs work fully, your neck carries its natural load, and your spine distributes weight the way it was designed to. The third mistake is wearing the wrong shoes or worn-out shoes. People spend a lot of thought on where to walk and how long to walk. Almost nobody thinks carefully about what is on their feet. That is a serious oversight, because for your joints, there is nothing more important than what sits between your foot and the ground. Two things happen with age that make this matter more than it did before. First, the natural fat pads on the bottom of your feet thin out over time. These pads were your built-in shock absorbers. They softened the impact of your heel hitting the ground with every single step. When they thin out, that job falls to your shoes. If your shoes are not doing it, the impact travels straight up the chain, ankle, knee, hip, and lower back, with every step you take. Second, the muscles and ligaments of the foot weaken with age, and the arch can begin to flatten. A collapsed arch shifts the load angle on your knee and hip and increases stress on your lower spine. Good arch support in your shoe can significantly slow that process. What should you look for in a walking shoe? Cushioning in both the heel and the front of the foot. Arch support that follows the natural shape of your foot and prevents inward collapse. And flexibility in the front portion of the sole so your foot can roll naturally from heel to toe with each step. One more thing that most people overlook, the age of your shoes. The outer sole of a shoe can look perfectly fine, while the inner cushioning materials have completely lost their shock-absorbing ability. If you walk regularly, plan to replace your walking shoes roughly once a year. That single habit is one of the simplest and most effective things you can do for your knee and hip health. The fourth mistake is walking rarely, but going very long when you do. This is an extremely common pattern. During a busy week, people do not walk at all, and then on Saturday or Sunday, they go out for an hour or more to make up for it. They come home tired and feel like they have done something good for their health. From a physiological standpoint, this approach does not work the way most people think. Your body does not respond to occasional large doses of activity. It responds to repeated consistent signals. Every time you walk, your body receives a message that physical activity is the normal state of things. In response, your heart gradually becomes more efficient, your blood vessels adapt, your muscles grow stronger, and your metabolism stays elevated. This process is called training adaptation, and it only happens with regular repeated signals. One long walk per week is not a strong enough signal. The body never fully adapts, and the benefits stay minimal. Worse than that, a long walk after several days of complete rest is actually a stress event for muscles that are cold and unprepared. They hurt the next day. People draw the wrong conclusion and decide that walking is just too hard on their body. The problem is almost never the joints. The problem is the pattern. What the research clearly supports is 20 to 30 minutes of walking on most days of the week, 5 to 6 days if possible. That is the dose that measurably reduces your risk of heart attack, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Not one long Sunday walk, but shorter walks done consistently. If 5 or 6 days sounds like too much right now, start with 3 days a week and build from there. Adding 1 day every 2 weeks is a completely sustainable approach. The fifth mistake is keeping your arms still while you walk. Most people either hold their arms stiff at their sides, let them hang loosely, or stick them in their pockets. It feels comfortable and natural, but it removes a significant portion of the benefit walking provides and disrupts the mechanics of movement in ways that cause real problems. Walking is a whole body activity, not just a leg exercise. When your left leg steps forward, your right arm naturally swings forward and vice versa. This cross pattern is hardwired into your nervous system, and it serves a very important purpose. It distributes the load across your spine evenly with each step and reduces the twisting force on your lower back. When your arms do not move, your lower back has to absorb all of that rotational force on its own. For people who already have lower back issues, this can be a direct trigger for pain. Active arm swing also recruits the muscles of the shoulders, chest, and upper back, which means your whole body is working during the walk rather than just your legs. More muscle activation means more calories burned, better circulation, and a stronger effect on your metabolism from the exact same distance walked. And finally, arm swing sets a rhythm that improves coordination and balance, which becomes more important every year after 50. The technique is simple. Bend your elbows to roughly a 90-degree angle, relax your shoulders, and let your arms swing forward and back in a natural rhythm opposite to your legs. You do not need to pump your arms aggressively, just stop holding them against your body. After a few walks, it will feel completely natural. The sixth mistake is walking while looking at your phone. This one did not exist 20 years ago. Today, it is one of the most widespread habits I observe. People walk while reading messages, scrolling through feeds, or watching videos, and they genuinely believe they are taking care of their health because their legs are moving. But looking at a phone while walking causes multiple serious problems simultaneously. It immediately creates the exact poor posture we already discussed: head tilted down, shoulders rounded forward, chest compressed, shallow breathing. But it is actually worse than ordinary slouching because the downward angle of the head when looking at a phone is more extreme than simple forward lean. The load on your neck increases even more dramatically. Beyond posture, there is a real safety issue that becomes more serious as we age. After 50, the balance and orientation system in your inner ear begins to operate with slightly less precision. Your sense of where your body is in space also gradually decreases. As a result, your brain increasingly depends on what your eyes are seeing to maintain balance while you walk. When your eyes are locked on a screen instead of the path ahead, your brain loses its most important source of spatial information. You stop registering uneven pavement, steps, curbs, wet surfaces, and sudden drops in the ground. Your fall risk increases significantly. And a fall after 50 is not always a minor event. It can mean a fractured wrist, broken ribs, or a hip fracture. A hip fracture in someone over 60 frequently means surgery, weeks of immobility, and months of rehabilitation, with outcomes that are not always complete. The solution is simple. Put the phone in your pocket for the entire walk. If you want audio, use earbuds. Keep the screen out of your hands and keep your eyes on the world around you. Walking is also a genuine neurological workout when you pay attention to your surroundings, your breathing, and the sensations in your body. That attentiveness is documented to benefit your brain. When your attention is on a screen, that benefit is completely lost. The seventh mistake is ignoring recovery after your walk. Most people assume that because walking is a moderate activity, no recovery is needed. You just finish and carry on with your day. That assumption costs people more than they realize. Start with water. Muscle tissue is roughly 70 to 75% water, and virtually every process inside a muscle, contraction, relaxation, repair, requires adequate hydration. Even mild dehydration, a loss of just 1 to 2% of your body's fluid stores, measurably reduces muscle function and slows the repair process after exercise. After every walk, drink a glass of water. That is not excessive. That is basic physiology. Next, stretching. During a walk, your muscles repeatedly contract and shorten. Afterward, they stay in a slightly shortened state. Over time, without stretching, this shortening accumulates. Muscles become chronically tight. The range of motion in your joints decreases. A persistent stiffness develops that people almost always blame on arthritis or aging, when in many cases it is simply the result of muscles that never get stretched after exercise. 5 minutes of gentle stretching after every walk, focusing on the calves, the back of the thighs, and the lower back, prevents this completely. 5 minutes is all it takes. And finally, rest days. The logic that more walking is always better seems reasonable, but it is actually incorrect. Your body does not adapt during exercise. It adapts during the recovery period after exercise. That is when muscle fibers reinforce themselves, when joints remodel in response to the load they experienced, when the cardiovascular system restructures to handle future demands more efficiently. 1 to 2 rest days per week is not laziness or weakness. It is the correct approach. Think of your walking practice as a complete system: movement, hydration, stretching, and rest. Only as a complete system does it produce lasting results. Here is the final point I want to leave you with. Every single one of these 7 mistakes carries greater consequences after 50 than it would have at 30. The resilience of your joints, blood vessels, and muscles decreases as we age. Mistakes your body once absorbed without complaint now produce real symptoms: pain, fatigue, stiffness, and injury. The same walk that would have been harmless at 35 can genuinely damage you at 55 if the technique is wrong. But the reverse is also true. The same walk done correctly at 55 produces real measurable improvements in your heart health, your joint health, your brain health, and your energy levels. Walking is one of the most powerful and accessible health tools available to you. You do not need a gym, special equipment, or a complicated program. You need the right habits. So here is what to do, starting with your very next walk. Begin slowly for the first 3 to 5 minutes, deliberately slowly, no matter how good you feel. Check your posture before you step out the door. Head up, shoulders back and relaxed, eyes forward. Look at the soles of your current walking shoes. If they are unevenly worn or more than a year old, replace them. Aim for 5 to 6 walks per week of 20 to 30 minutes rather than one long walk on the weekend. Let your arm swing naturally with every step. Leave your phone in your pocket for the entire walk. And when you get home, drink a glass of water and spend 5 minutes stretching. These are not dramatic changes. They are small, practical corrections that compound powerfully over time. Your joints, your heart, and your brain will feel the difference.